All right. So for this conversation, I'm going to be joined with three people from Airbnb. First, we have Ty McCray, who's the Director of Diversity and Belonging at Airbnb. And next, we have Janaye Ingram, who's the Director of National Partnerships at Airbnb. Okay, there we go. I think it's this guy. Let's switch you out. All right. No, I think we're good. You haven't turned it on? That one. That's something back there, I promise you. It's not me. Everybody's like, what is she doing with the mic? What is making noise? Okay, I think it was the block. So weird. All right, sorry about that, guys. All right, and we're back. All right, and now give a warm round of applause to the final person joining us, Luis Briones, Policy Programs Manager at Airbnb. All right, awesome. I'll just walk around and I'll use my mic for this first portion, which we wanted to make it a little bit more interactive and open it up to the audience first before we dive into this conversation. So we wanted to ask the audience to share with us, and you can just raise your hand if a specific memory comes to mind, a memory of feeling connection through travel. So some experience that you've had where you felt connected through travel. Start over here.
I travel a lot, actually. I have a great memory, and I love Airbnb, but my sister got married last year in London, and we found an Airbnb that was literally a block from where she lived in Highbury. And it was this amazing 3-story, and me and my mom stayed there for a week, and it was really cool because it's nice to go to a hotel, right? They make the bed every day and everything and bring you room service. But we cooked in this Airbnb with my brother-in-law. Every morning he would cook brunch for us. And it was such a great experience to be with my sister on her wedding week, cooking together and enjoying the flat. And I just will remember that always. And I wasn't necessarily, was this a question about Airbnb? But I'm a cheerleader.
No, but we appreciate
I'm not being paid
that.
by that, by the way.
No, it doesn't have to be Airbnb, but just a time that you traveled and you really felt connected to the place that you traveled to. Yeah?
So we were in the military, and so a couple of us and our retired friends, we all decided to hop on one of our Space A flights, which is you can take the flight wherever it's going. We ended up going to Sicily, Italy, and it happened to be the opening grand party for this beach situation. So all of the clubs opened up, and so we have very mature individuals going out to the club till 6 a.m. And so we all shared a place, and it was amazing. So, yeah.
You just randomly ended up in Sicily? I would love to randomly end up in Sicily. Yeah, all right, for sure.
So my parents are originally from like a random city in Mexico called San Miguel in Guanajuato. And one of the first things that when I graduated college is we usually go there once a year to visit family and stuff like that. We rented a place over there. And it was like super pretty and super amazing looking, like 2 stories and beautiful. It was really cool to give them that because their house originally wasn't like that. And like this is like from like a novella type place. It was like amazing, and it was like cool experience to give them that. And like I didn't know you could do that, and it was pretty cool when I did it with Airbnb. It was a pretty cool experience.
Thanks again for
Thank
the free
you.
commercial.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I'll definitely let y'all jump into this. But before we walked on stage, we were having a conversation about belonging and feeling like you belong somewhere, and how that sounds like it's very core to what Airbnb is all about. So I'll let y'all take it away and talk about this concept of belonging.
Yeah, that's really why we wanted to start off with that question about connection through travel, because that's what we're really trying to facilitate at Airbnb. It's a tech company, but the product we're hoping to create is that magic, is that human connection, and we're just using technology to facilitate it. So whether it's through taking someone from one country and helping them feel like a local in another country, or whether it's taking someone who lives in their own community and connecting them to a different experience in that community, we really are all about belonging and connection, and what does that mean for people? And usually on our platform, it means people of different identities, because usually when you're traveling, you're going to a different place, you're meeting new people. And so we know that there's just so much potential for crossing and bridging differences, for connecting people across cultures. And we know also that the best way to do that on our platform is to have a diverse workforce creating that product. So the two go hand in hand. And so we wanted you all just to begin this conversation thinking about how you connect with people when you travel, just how do we connect as humans in general.
Awesome. All right. So your founder, Brian Chesky, he's talked about creating a 21st century company. And I would love to hear, like, what does that mean? And knowing that the future is diverse, the future is going to be more diverse. What does it mean in that context specifically?
So, our founder, one of our founders, Brian Chesky, he's our CEO, talks about a 21st century company. And as we think about most companies in the 20th century, going back to the panel that started this morning, and thinking about how the real goal is to please the shareholders. For us as an organization and as a company that understands we are part of a larger ecosystem that is not just focused on shareholders. It's thinking about the whole community. It's thinking about all of our stakeholders. So shareholders are included in that, but it's also our employees. It's also our hosts and our guests. And it's also the broader communities in which our hosts and guests live. So the places that people are traveling to, being able to take them into consideration. So we're not just only thinking about the bottom line and what shareholders' returns are going to be, but we're really thinking about how we can ensure that we're creating healthier communities, that we are creating bridges of opportunity for people to connect through and across differences. Our mission is to create a world where anyone can belong anywhere. And so that's sort of the title of this panel. And so thinking about that and thinking about our role in facilitating that, it's not just okay to think about the shareholders anymore. I think most people in this room already understand that. And you see many more companies who are turning to really thinking broader about their impact in community, their impact in the world. And so for us, that's really what it means. I think the other part of what being a 21st century company means is having an infinite time horizon. So thinking beyond sort of, this is where we want to be in 10 years. This is where we want to be at the end of the quarter. Again, it's sort of tied into that shareholder mindset, but really thinking about where is it that we want our company to be in 100 years? Like, how will we show up in the world 100 years from now? And that seems crazy to think about, but there are a lot of institutions that have been around for 100 years. LULAC is almost 100 years old. It's turning 90 next year. And so, having that long-term vision, not necessarily thinking from quarter to quarter, but really thinking about the long-term relationship that you want to have.
Awesome. So, did you want to jump in? Totally.
Onto that. So a lot of the work that I do in Airbnb is focused on public policy. I'm in the public policy team. And when I joined the company, I sort of heard about this community approach to the work that we do. And honestly, I was like, okay, that sounds like a lot of Kool-Aid. And so my background's in political campaigns. I'm from Texas, so I'm super glad to be back here. And so when I went and joined the company, they really, I saw that the structure really was oriented towards on a community-based model. And even in the work that we do in the public policy team, there's a community organizing effort that is part of that, which I had not seen up until then another tech company or many companies that took that approach. So when I saw that, and in my experiences in the team, I started to really believe it. I'm like, okay, this is a real thing. They're being serious. They're putting their money where their mouth is when it comes to being focused on community, not just the Airbnb community of hosts and guests, but the communities that we are present in, Austin, Houston, you name it. We're in 191 countries, 65,000 or 80,000 some cities.
81,000, I think, yeah.
Yeah, 81,000 cities around the world, and it really, all the teams within the company, but especially also the public policy team, are designed and oriented in that way.
Awesome. So how has Airbnb, either, I guess, through community or through your employees, engaged directly with the Latinx community? Like, do you have some examples or stories that come to mind?
Yeah, there's so many stories. I think this is a question that many of us on the panel can take. The first thing that comes to mind is what Luis was just saying, the levels of community. So there's our employees, and we love partnerships that allow us to increase the diversity of our employee base. So we're 12% underrepresented minority, which is Black, Hispanic, Latinx, and Native American. And we're really proud of that number, but we want it to be bigger and bolder. We're really looking to be leaders in that space. And we know that it's because of our employees that we're able to create a product that then impacts the external community. And we think about the external community being people who can get economic benefit from using our platform, like the host who are able to just have new streams of revenue. We talked this morning about billionaires. I don't think Airbnb is creating any billionaires on our platform, but we think just adding to someone's general income is also really important in changing communities. And another thing that comes to mind that's been a theme today is supplier diversity. And we're super focused. We actually have a goal that by the end of 2019, we want 10% of our procurement spend to go to minority-owned businesses. So that's women, underrepresented minorities, and LGBTQ plus businesses. And we've actually, since we set that goal, increased that number by 4x. And so we know that the money we spend millions of dollars as a company. Where is it going? What communities is it helping? Is it helping employ other people? And we really just are super thoughtful about that.
Awesome. I think for me, working, sort of doing external affairs, I know my partners, my title is National Partnerships. And so a lot of times I get, what does that exactly mean? Like, even internally. And so essentially my role is external affairs / community engagement. And so in my role, I get to engage with communities like the Latinx community, like the disability community, the Black community, so many communities. And it's about bringing that message that Airbnb has to those communities and connecting people to that opportunity. Because really it's an economic opportunity for people to earn additional income, leveraging either their home, so sharing a space or renting out their whole home. And we now also have experiences. If you haven't heard of it, it's basically local authentic activities that are hosted by people in the community. And, you talk about entrepreneurship. It's a true entrepreneurship model. It really allows people to take the skill, the hobby, the passion that they have and turn it into something that they share with people who are traveling to a community, or even the people who are in the community who may not necessarily have been exposed to that sort of activity in the past. And, I know Luis sort of mentioned we don't have any billionaires, but one of our most popular experiences is sort of grossing, I think, somewhere around $800,000 a year. Now, that's like the most, that's the top tier. Not saying that most are there, but I think the potential is there for us to really create wealth in communities by leveraging again, skills, hobbies, interests, and leveraging your home, which for most people is the most expensive asset that you have. So by being able to list those things on our platform, it is a real economic opportunity. And so my role is to connect communities to that message, to let them know, like, hey, you can list your space. Here's how you can be part of our broader community.
Janaye, can you help me get this statistic right? I always forget it. 10 billion women.
Oh,
Women
yeah.
have made $10 billion on our platform since what date?
So actually, it's really interesting because from our platform was started in 2008. So from 2008 to 2017, women made $10 billion on our platform. But then, it gets better, from 2017 to 2018, women made another $10 billion in that 1 year alone.
Wow.
So this is the real impact that it has. Women, look, I'm a women champion. So women, we know we lead our communities. We're leaders in our homes, and we're leading on the platform. Most of our hosts are women, on both experiences and homes. And so to see that amount of money being raised by women and earned by women through hosting is amazing. And I'll just add one other thing, which is on the home host side, I talked about sort of this economic opportunity. We take 3% of what a host would earn. So if you listed your home or a room in your home on our platform for $100, you take $97, we take $3. And so it's that economic opportunity that allowed women to earn basically $20 billion since we started.
That's amazing. Wow. Can you expand a little bit on, you're talking about the experiences.
Yes.
I am like an avid Airbnb person, but I'd not actually heard of that component of Airbnb. Like what is an Airbnb experience?
So we actually have experiences here in Austin. And so if you have time, if you're not from Austin, I encourage you to take a peek and see what's available. But if you are here, they're always on the platform. There's different types of experiences. I don't know if you know of right off the top of your head any that are here.
I mean, there's a couple of paddleboarding ones, which I think most people that live here have been out in Lady Bird Lake. There's some really, the other thing about experiences actually is that it expands beyond just the most obvious areas around town, just like with homes. So it really mirrors in terms of the supply side. So you can, explore parts of the city that you normally would not if you were to stay in a more traditional accommodation, or even just experience them. Even if you don't stay there, you can go and check out, a certain neighborhood that you normally would not with an experienced host. So that's, I think, another strength of the experiences part of the platform.
One of our taglines is "Live like a local." It reminded me of the story that someone shared earlier about staying close to their sister during a wedding and just feeling a sense of being a part of a community. So sometimes when you're a tourist, you feel like an outsider, and we want you to feel as much a part of that community as possible, which is live like a local and feel like you belong anywhere. I just looked up some Austin experiences. They're really cool.
There's some great
I'm
ones.
so curious.
Yeah, just do Airbnb Austin experiences. You get a host of things to do. There's the food scene, things. It's great.
We have concerts. So there's like a whole subcategory of concerts, and you get to hear like music, and experience music in a way that you might not traditionally. So it's not your typical average, like, I'm going to go to this spot that everyone goes to on the day that everyone goes. But it's really more curated than that, and it's really more authentic than that. I think, sometimes when you're traveling to a place, and you fall into like these tourist traps where everyone's going to the same place and everyone's doing the same thing. And our goal is really to take people out of that. I mean, I think that's fine, like if you have your standard sites that you want to see, but ultimately to live like a local and to really be enmeshed with a community, you have to be experiencing and seeing things that aren't necessarily the thing that every tourist sees. It's the places that, only the locals know. It's the bar down the street that, everyone goes to, where it's like, that's the real experience.
Yeah. And there's something cool about experiences that I want to add that's related to our team. There's someone on that works really closely with the diversity team. Her name's Maria Cuba. She's a great just institution at Airbnb. She's worked with us for 7 years. And one of her focuses is to make sure that the experiences we offer on our platform are diverse, represent the community at large. And she also has a really keen eye to ensure that none of the experiences fall into the category of cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
And so she's really there for quality control. And so we want to provide this economic opportunity, and we want to scale and grow. But what I like about Airbnb is how thoughtful that we want to do all of those things, and we don't want to grow or do anything at the expense of any one community. And so she's done a great job just to make sure what you see on experiences is well curated and super intentional.
And that started from the very beginning with experiences. I think we learned a lot on the home side in terms of, you know, how we approach diversity. And so through those learnings, luckily we learned it as a young company. And so as we build the experiences product, as we build other products in the future, diversity is an important part that's baked in from the very beginning.
Awesome. All right. We're getting tight on time, so I'll ask our final question, which is, how can participants, how can the audience members find ways to more deeply engage with Airbnb?
I think beyond just traveling and using the platform, as many people here have, there's a unique sort of value add. You can stay in most of the neighborhoods that you normally would not be able to, meet the people that live there, not just the hosts, but also just being able to stay in a neighborhood that is sort of outside of the central business district or outside of a downtown. You really get to experience a place. So you're actually, funny enough, you're interacting with Airbnb by interacting with our hosts, by interacting with other guests, by taking experiences. You know, if you, and on our end, and a little bit to your earlier question about interaction with the Latinx community, and you know, Maria was mentioned. So besides the role that I do on the public policy team, I'm also co-lead of the Latinx ERG. At Airbnb alongside Alyssa Ramirez, who was up on another panel earlier today. And we really tried to focus on which ways employee-driven ways we can engage with the community in San Francisco and in the many other cities that we have a presence with an office, and how we can also champion the Latinx community internally so that it just sort of feeds on itself. A lot of our efforts here in the company are driven primarily or first and foremost by having a diversity internally. And that sort of is reflected in the external community and having diversity in the host and guest community as well.
Yeah. And I'll just add quickly to that. I really want to emphasize about how important we take the diversity of our workforce. And so a lot of the talks earlier today were about how people broke into tech. And sometimes people hear the phrase breaking into tech and they always think about engineering. But what I love to share with people is every job that exists outside of technology, we still need those skills in the tech world too, in other parts of the company. So we do have a really robust engineering and product team, but if you look at this panel, people are working on policy, people are engaged with the community, people have political backgrounds. I'm actually a former scientist. There's so many ways to be tech adjacent, and we need those skills too. So whatever creativity you have, whatever your passions are, I think you should still consider the tech industry if you're interested. Don't feel like if you're not an engineer, it's not for you. And I'm sure many of you in this room already know that, but I want you to help me share that message with people.
Yeah. That's a great point, because I never thought that Airbnb needed someone like me. It was a long-standing joke when I was in university that somehow I was going to end up at a tech company. I was like, come on, guys. I studied econ and finance. I thought I was going to be in an ivory tower or work at a bank. And then at some point I realized, looking back, I'm like, all right, they were right. I ended up at a tech company.
Same. I mean, my work and experience with LULAC started because I ran a civil rights organization in the Black community, and LULAC was a partner for many, many years, and I had relationships with them. Never imagined that in my activist background that I would end up at a tech company, but through my work with communities, obviously, and really focusing on creating equity for all people, there was a bridge there. And so it landed me in a tech company, and it's been great working here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Let's give our panel a big round of applause.